Hi there guys, how are you all doing? My name is Tim and today we are going to be looking into some more Blackwing. So we did the deck profile last week. We're going to be looking today into our key cards for the deck. So we're going to go a little bit more detail, discuss the cards a little bit more. There's certain ones which I think are like the essentially best cards in the deck, the cards that you really want to be seen as much as you possibly can, so that we can just talk about what we can do and the kind of insane end board that we can potentially create when it comes to this particular deck. So if you're excited to learn a little bit more about Blackwings, then please do subscribe to the channel. Comment down below whether you've played Blackwings before, whether you enjoy the deck, and yeah, let me know how you get on with it if you do play it. And yeah, let's get on into the discussion. I've picked out a few cards here which I think deserve a little bit more of a discussion when it comes to the Blackwings. I think that Blackwings has the potential to be a really powerful deck. It can create some really fantastic end boards, and particularly just going along the dark synchro line that you can create. It is just amazing what you can actually finish up with this board. So I'm going to discuss a few of the key cards here. First of all, we're going to discuss Blackwing, Simoon, the Poison Wind. Now, Simoon here has got a really powerful effect, and it is a fantastic 1.5 card starter, essentially. So if you control no monsters and have this card in your hand, you can banish one other Blackwing monster from your hand to place one Black Whirlwind from your deck face up in your spell and trap zone. Then either send this card to the graveyard, or immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon it without tributing. So, couple of things with that. The first part of this effect cannot be Ash Blossomed because you are placing a spell or trap directly onto the field. You are not adding it to your hand, and you're not doing a special summon, or you're not sending to the graveyard. So Ash Blossom can't stop this. Simoon also doesn't hit the field until after the Black Whirlwind has been placed. So that means that you are not able to be like impermed or anything because it is not face up on the field. So which means that Simoon is a little bit difficult on your turn one for them to stop, essentially, for them to stop that part at least. The second part of its effect of being able to normal summon it without tributing, that is part of Simoon's effect. So the important thing about that is it doesn't use your normal summon for the turn. So you can still summon off, do your normal summon as you normally would. Simoon just summons itself from the effect. It is just called a normal summon, which is really useful when you go into how it links with the Black Whirlwind that you are placing on the field. And the only other thing about this is you've got to remember that you need to destroy your Black Whirlwind in the end phase and take 1,000 damage. Now, you can actually get around this a little bit because you can return the Black Whirlwind to your hand when you are summoning your Zephyros the Elite, but it's probably better things that you can do with what you're returning to your hand. However, if you do draw into a Black Feather Whirlwind and you've got Shamal for your other Black Feather Whirlwind, you need 2 Black Feather Whirlwinds in your combo, essentially, to be able to really get the most out of this deck. So if you've got 2 already on the field, you can always bring back the Black Whirlwind and then play it again, and then you won't have to take that 1,000 points of damage, which 1,000 points of damage is negligible, really, in the long run. Let's actually talk about Black Whirlwind now, and I put Black Whirlwind and Sudri the Phantom Glimmer together. So let's talk about Black Whirlwind. So when a Blackwing monster is normal summoned to your side of the field, you can add one Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand that has less attack than that monster. So straight away, off the effect of Simoon, you're going to be placing Black Whirlwind down, and then searching after you've summoned Simoon. Any Blackwing monster that is less than 1,600, which the majority of the Blackwing monsters in the deck are less than 1,600, but specifically you're going to be searching for Sudri, the Phantom Glimmer, which has a couple of really good effects. So when this card is normal summoned, you can add one card that mentions Black Winged Dragon from your deck to your hand, except for Blackwing Sudri, the Phantom Glimmer. So important thing about this, that's a lot of the more modern Blackwing support that we had, that came out, I think it was last year, I think it was in 2023 now. So yeah, in Darkwing Blast. A lot of those cards state Blackwing Dragon on it, rather than sort of saying a Blackwing monster or anything like that. So yeah, you can search for a lot of that new support when it comes to what you can get off Sudri. It is one card that mentions Blackwinged Dragon, so you can search for something like the Twin Shadow or something like that, rather than just searching for a monster, which is really useful. It then has a secondary effect as well, so you contribute one monster to special summon one Phantom Glimmer token, which is a Winged Beast Tuner, Dark level 2, and then take 700 points of damage. So that's really, really useful, because once your Simoon's on the field, it's not actually all that useful for too much. So Simoon will be on the field plus Sudri, and then you're like, nah, you've got nothing that you can go into. You don't have any anything that you can do on the extra deck. So you can instead tribute off the Simoon in order to summon that token, and then you've got an instant level 6, of which we've got a couple that we can go into. So Sudri is really, really good. Black Whirlwind, incidentally, neither of these cards actually are once per turn. Neither of them are once per turn, so you can use these as many times as you can normal summon. They kind of say, I think they were just thinking it's an inherent once per turn, but because we've got support of allowing us to normal summon multiple times, we can go in for multiple searches when it comes to Black Whirlwind. Plus, if you've got 2 Black Whirlwinds on the field, you're searching twice off of every normal summon with the Black Whirlwind plus the Sudri. You can search 3 times when you normal summon Sudri, if you happen to have 2 Black Whirlwinds on the field. All right, let's now talk about Vata. Vata has a fantastic effect of just being able to basically tribute himself off for the summon of a Blackwing Dragon. So Blackwing Dragon, I suppose we'll go into the 2 together actually now that we're here. So Vata, if you control a Blackwing monster, you can special summon him from your hand, which is brilliant. There's a few Blackwing monsters that have that effect, but Vata is probably the one that's got the best sort of utility throughout the deck. And then you can, during your main phase, you can send this card on the field to the graveyard, along with 1 or more non-tuner Blackwing monsters from your deck, so that the total levels sent equal exactly 8. Then if you do, special summon 1 Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck. So the thing with that is you're most likely sending the Zephyros, because you want Zephyros to be in the graveyard anyway, plus one of your level 2s, which is Harmattan or Chinook. And you'll be able to summon out Blackwing Dragon. Now, Blackwing Dragon on its own is not all that great. I mean, it's a good card, but it is not like a key thing. We're using it as a level 8, essentially, to be able to step into Assault Dragon later on. So, yeah, if you would take damage from a card effect, place 1 Black Feather counter on this card instead. That's really useful, because we do have lots of cards that deal sort of 700 damage to us, or a random amount of a little bit of damage to us. Sudri was one of them that deals 700 points of damage to us when we use its secondary effect. So we can place a Black Feather counter onto Blackwing Dragon instead of taking that damage, essentially. And then once per turn, you can remove all Black Feather counters on this card to target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, and that card loses 700 attack for each Black Feather counter that you removed, if it does inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack lost by this effect. That's something that doesn't really come up all that much. To be honest, your Blackwing Dragon is not on the field enough. You take it off the field at some point during your combo anyway, but still could potentially be useful during kind of like a turn 3 sort of deal if you need to get a Blackwing Dragon out. I did for a while run 2 Blackwing Dragons for that exact reason, but I've stopped doing that now. Okay, finally for the sort of main deck discussion, although we've got Twin Shadow to discuss as well. We've got Shamal and Black Feather Whirlwind. I've lumped these together because they are quite similar in what they do. So Shamal the Sandstorm, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to place a Black Feather Whirlwind from your deck face up in your spell or trap zone. Again, exactly the same as Simoon's effect. That can't be Ash Blossomed or anything like that, because it is not being added to the hand. It just goes straight to the spell or trap zone. Then if a Blackwing Synchro monster or Blackwing Dragon is special summoned to your field, whilst this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card, then target one Blackwing monster in your graveyard to add it to your hand, then take 700 damage. So the 700 damage will be negated by the Blackwing dragon, and we'll get to add something back to our hand. Now, because we've got the option of being able to normal summon another time, so we can get 3 normal summons on this using the effect of Nothung the Starlight, we can bring back the Sudri that we used earlier on in the combo with Shamal and get another normal summon, and then get the search off Sudri and Black Whirlwind again. So it's just unlimited searching potential in this deck. Then you got Black Feather Whirlwind, which is a similar effect. So once per turn, if you special summon a Dark Synchro monster from the extra deck, you can target one of your Blackwing monsters or Black-Winged Dragon that is banished or in your graveyard with a less attack than that special summoned monster and special summon it. And then once per turn, if a dark monster that you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can remove 1 Black Feather counter from your field instead. If we've done everything right, we will end up with quite a few Black Feather counters that are on the field. So we can use that once per turn effect quite handily to be able to just stop any destruction of cards on our field. But even better than that, the resummoning of a monster, particularly if you can resummon a tuner back to your side of the field whilst you've got a non-tuner on the field, is incredibly strong. So it's a fantastic extender, plus it's a soft once per turn. So what we'll try and do with this is grab the Zephyros that we've sent to the graveyard using that as effect. And then later on in the combo, we use the Black Feather Whirlwind to bring something back to the field. And then we will return the Black Feather Whirlwind to our hand to play it again. So it becomes a second copy of Black Feather Whirlwind, essentially. We can use its effect again. And we can then get its effect a second time after another Synchro Summon later on, which is incredible. So we return it to the hand using Zephyros's effect. So it's an incredible little combo, and it's a beautiful card as well. I love the fact that it's hollow. I really love Black Feather Whirlwind a lot. All right, last couple. Let's go into Twin Shadow. Twin Shadow is fantastic. So shuffle 2 of your Blackwing monsters, 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner that are banished and or in your graveyard into the deck/extra deck. Then special summon 1 Blackwing Synchro monster or Black-Winged Dragon from your extra deck, whose level equals the total levels of those 2 monsters, and this is treated as a Synchro Summon. If you control 2 or more Blackwing monsters, you can activate this card from your hand. So, Twin Shadow here is being able to Synchro Summon during your opponent's turn, which brings on our copy of Silverwind the Ascendant for some destruction in your opponent's turn. So the important thing is Twin Shadow specifically says 2 of your Blackwing monsters, but it doesn't say that you can't summon something that has more requirements than that. You can summon Silverwind the Ascendant off of Blackwing Twin Shadow, even though it requires a tuner and 2 or more non-tuner monsters. So that's why I keep Silverwind in the Ascendant. Without Twin Shadow, I wouldn't keep Silverwind in the deck, most likely, because getting that 2 or more non-tuners is a little bit more difficult. So you need to be able to total level 8 from your graveyard or banishment, which is really easy to do. So it's incredibly simple. Let me just look. So we've got a level 4 with Shamal, and then we've got the Zephyros as well that we can just shuffle back in. Straight away, level 8, Silverwind the Ascendant comes out. When this card is Synchro Summoned, you can select and destroy up to 2 face-up monsters on the field with defense lower than this card's attack. So defense lower than 2800 is pretty good. And you cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this effect, which is why we do it on the opponent's turn, just to interrupt them. Next time a Blackwing monster that you control would be destroyed by battle during your opponent's turn, it is not destroyed, and this effect only happens once. So, when this card is Synchro Summoned, so important thing about that is, it is when this card is Synchro Summoned. So, that means you can miss timing with Silverwind the Ascendant, which makes it a little bit weaker. So, you have to make sure you activate the Twin Shadow at a specific point. So, do not activate Twin Shadow in response to the opponent's activation of any effects or anything. When you just get the chance to, when like a summon happens that doesn't have an inherent effect that goes along with it, or when something has resolved, you can then activate your Twin Shadow in order to bring out the Silverwind the Ascendant, just so you don't miss that timing. That's really important for this little piece of the combo. And then finally, let's go on to the kind of main star of this deck, Blackwinged Assault Dragon. Must be either synchro summoned or special summoned from your extra deck by banishing one Tuner Synchro monster and one Blackwinged Dragon from your face-up field and or graveyard. So, important thing about that is, we do have a Blackwing Barrier Storm. Where is it? Barrier Storm is a tuner, which we can use once we've got Barrier Storm into the graveyard and the Blackwing Dragon into the graveyard. We can summon out a Blackwinged Assault Dragon. We can summon 3 of these out on our turn very, very easily because of that. Each time your opponent activates a monster effect, place 1 Black Feather counter on this card when that effect resolves. And if you do, inflict 700 points of damage to your opponent. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you contribute this card with 4 or more Black Feather counters on it, destroy all cards on the field. Now, let me tell you, after doing this, after having this on the field, I've never had to do that last effect. Because if we summon all 3 of our Blackwinged Assault Dragons, this is not a once per turn effect. Every time your opponent activates a monster effect, Blackwinged Assault Dragon will burn them for 700 each. Meaning, if you've got all 3 out and they activate an effect, then you are going to burn them for 2100 damage on resolution. This creates some really funny moments sometimes. I use this a lot on Master Duel, and it does it all automatically, which is incredibly funny for me. But for example, I once had 3 Blackwinged Assault Dragons on the field. Somebody milled cards because they were playing Tearlament. Hit their Tearlament cards, activated 3 of them, and burned themselves to death. You can only activate 4 monster effects before you die. Well, three monster effects, and then on the 4th one you will die if you have all 3 of these out on the field. Which 3 monster effects is not a whole lot to wipe a board with. Put these in defense position so that you're not getting lightning stormed, and then the ideal world that we're creating is that we've got those on the field, but we also end up with a, let me just grab it, copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, so that we've got an Omni-Negate on the field, which just stops us from having those destroyed if they draw into like a Raigeki or something. That you want them to just play their monster effects. So get them using their monster effects. Just let it happen. As long as they're not going to destroy your monsters immediately, you are fine. And then just stop them with the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss if they are going to destroy your monsters. But they get three chances, essentially. And after the 3rd one, plus they're going to be a little bit lower on life points because we use Nothung in our combo, and that burns for 800. So yeah, they're just going to burn very, very quickly. And they've got to pay their taxes whenever they're going to use a monster effect, which makes this deck incredibly strong. And that you can get to those 3 copies of Blackwinged Assault Dragon off of 1 copy of Simoon and another Blackwing monster. It is that simple to pull off. So yeah, we will be going through how to do that in our combo guide that comes out in a couple of weeks' time. Next week we will be opening some Quarter Century Bonanza. But until then, I hope that you enjoy this Blackwing in-depth discussion. Let me know if you've ever played Blackwing before. Honestly, it's one of my favourite decks to play, particularly on Master Duel. It's quite expensive on Master Duel, but because it does everything for you in terms of the damage, it's very, very satisfying when it pulls off. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.